My family believed my sister's lie, disowned me, and let me rot. Now they want me to save them from homelessness, so I let them lose everything. Before watching the video, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'd also really appreciate a like and a subscribe. The most interesting comment will be included in the next videos. Thank you to each and every one of you. Enjoy watching. My name's Jake, 22 years old, male. For most of my life, I was the golden boy. Straight A student, varsity baseball captain, dean's list at Northwestern. My parents, Robert and Elaine, loved showing me off like some kind of suburban trophy. Every cookout, every holiday, every boring neighborhood wine night, it was always Jake's got recruiters coming to watch a pitch, or Jake just got another finance internship. I was their success story. Then there was Lily, my adopted sister. She's 19. Came into our family when I was about 13. She was fragile back then. Tiny, quiet, clinging to Mom like a lifeline. I tried. God, I tried. I took her to Cubs games, taught her how to throw a ball, even defended her from the kids at school who called her charity case. She'd draw little thank you cards for me. I kept one in my wallet all through high school, her handwriting crooked, saying, "Jake, you're my real brother now." But Lily was complicated. Where I was steady, she was volatile. She'd swing between gratitude and resentment like it was a sport. Sometimes she looked at me like I was her hero, other times like I was stealing the life she thought she deserved. She never liked how much attention I got. Mom and Dad brushed it off as sibling rivalry. I should have seen it for the warning it was. That weekend, God, I'll never forget, I came home from campus for a quick visit, walked through the front door, duffel bag slung over my shoulder, already smelling Mom's pot roast. But instead of hugs or "How was class?" I got silence. Then Dad's voice, cold, clipped, unfamiliar. "Pack your things, Jake." I laughed at first, thought he was joking. Then I saw Mom's face, pale, eyes red scrying. Lily was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket like she was testifying in a courtroom. She wouldn't even look at me. My stomach dropped. Dad's words still echo. "Your sister told us everything. Years of abuse, Jake. Years. We believe her." I froze. Abuse? My brain scrambled for meaning. I hadn't laid a hand on her, ever. But they didn't ask me a single question, not one. I begged, I swore, I demanded proof. Mom sobbed harder. Dad's jaw clenched. And Lily. She finally looked at me with this expression I can't even describe. Not fear, not sadness, almost satisfaction. In 20 minutes, my entire life evaporated. They kicked me out with nothing but my backpack. My phone buzzing with texts from teammates asking if I'd be back for practice, while my own parents shut the door in my face. I remember standing on that front lawn, staring at the Christmas lights still hanging from the porch, thinking, so this is it. This is how my life ends. And in a way, it did. The first night after they threw me out, I slept on a bench outside the train station. It was late September in Chicago, wind cutting through my hoodie like knives. I kept replaying their words over and over. Years of abuse. How could they believe that without even asking me? I was their son. 17 years of blood, sweat, trophies, good grades, all wiped out with one sentence from Lily. I tried calling Dad, straight to voicemail. Mom blocked me by the next morning. I texted Lily, begging her to explain why she'd done it. The only reply I ever got was, "You'll understand someday." That was it. Like she'd written the script of my execution and signed it with a smirk. The fallout was immediate. Word spreads fast in suburbs like ours. By the time I got back to campus, whispers followed me down hallways. My roommate asked me, half joking, if it was true. Professors who used to praise me now looked at me like I was toxic. And baseball. God. Coach pulled me aside, eyes heavy, and said, "Until this is cleared up, Jake, you're benched." No investigation, no chance to defend myself, just gone. My future, MLB recruiters, finance internships, all of it, slammed shut. The shame was unbearable. I didn't just lose my family, I lost my identity. My own teammates stopped inviting me out. Friends I'd known since freshman year cut me off. Even my girlfriend at the time, Rachel, ghosted me completely. One minute we were planning a spring break trip together, the next my calls went unanswered. Bills piled up. Without my parents' support, my housing at school collapsed. Financial aid wouldn't cover it all, and I couldn't hold a job with baseball gone. Within a month, I was officially homeless. I crashed at a buddy's apartment for a while, but he got uncomfortable with the rumors. Said it was too much drama for him. So I packed my duffel again and hit the streets. For the first time in my life, I wasn't Jake the Golden Boy. I was just another ghost wandering under streetlights, trying to find a warm place to disappear. The nights were the worst. Lying awake in some shelter cot that reeked of piss, I'd see flashes of Lily's face in my mind. That look she gave me, like she wanted me erased. And the part that hurt most wasn't even a pure lie. It was that my parents chose to believe it. No hesitation, no fight. They traded me for her in a heartbeat. One night, after some drunk guys jumped me outside a convenience store for my last $20, I stood on the edge of a bridge over the river, hands shaking, looking down at the black water, wondering if disappearing completely would finally make the pain stop. And that's when I met Frank. The night I almost jumped, I was gripping the icy rail of the bridge, staring at the water when a voice cut through the wind. "You planning to fly, kid?" I spun around, startled. A man stood a few feet away, bundled in a weather-beaten Marine Corps jacket. He was older, maybe late 50s, with a scar across his cheek, and the kind of presence that made you straighten up without meaning to. His eyes were sharp, not pitying, just watchful. I stammered something about being fine, just taking in the view. He didn't buy it. "Bullshit," he said flatly. "You're about one step from going over. I've seen that look before." That was Frank. Frank O'Donnell, retired Marine, the kind of guy who carried both discipline and demons in equal measure. He didn't push me that night, didn't lecture, he just stood there in the cold, keeping me company until my death wish lost its grip. Then he said, "You hungry?" and bought me the greasiest diner burger of my life. Over coffee that tasted like burnt mud, I spilled everything. Lily's lie, my parents choosing her without a second thought. How I lost school, baseball, home, all of it. I kept waiting for him to flinch, to look at me like everyone else did. Instead, he just nodded. "Family will cut you deeper than any enemy," he said. "Question is, you gonna bleed out or you gonna fight?" That night, Frank gave me his spare couch. It wasn't much, just a cramped apartment above a mechanic's shop. But to me, it felt like sanctuary. For the first time in weeks, I slept without shivering. Frank had rules. "You want to stay here, you pull your weight." The next morning, he dragged me along to a private security job he'd been running on the side. Corporate gigs, nightclub details, bodyguard stuff. Nothing glamorous, but it paid. And for the first time since everything collapsed, I felt useful again. He was tough, too. No excuses. If I showed up late, he made me run laps around the block. If I let self-pity creep into my words, he barked me back to focus. But beneath the bark, there is this steady kind of care, like he wasn't going to let me sink no matter how much I tried. Frank also pushed therapy. Said he'd seen too many men, Marines, cops, brothers, drown in silence. He shoved a card into my hand and said, "Call her, or I'll drag you there myself." So I did. Piece by piece, with Frank's iron will backing me, I started clawing out of the hole. My body got stronger with the work, my mind a little clearer with therapy. I wasn't healed, far from it. But for the first time since Lily's accusation, I didn't feel completely destroyed. But healing doesn't happen in a straight line. Some nights I'd still wake up drenched in sweat, hearing Dad's voice telling me to pack my things. Some days I wanted to disappear again. And every time Frank was there calling me on my crap, reminding me I wasn't dead yet. I didn't know it then, but meeting Frank was the hinge my whole life turned on. Without him, I'd be ashes in that river. With him, I was learning, slowly, painfully, how to rebuild. And through Frank, I was about to meet the woman who would change everything. Frank had this way of pulling people into his orbit. He was gruff, blunt, and half the time I thought he was testing me just to see if I'd break. But people respected him. That's how I met Sophie. She worked at a law office downtown, sharp as a tack, the kind of woman who could dismantle an argument with a single raised eyebrow. I first saw her at one of Frank's security gigs, a corporate event where she happened to be consulting. Frank introduced us like it was nothing. "Jake, this is Sophie. Sophie, this kid's a project of mine." I wanted to crawl into the floor. A project. But Sophie just smiled, tilted her head, and said, "Everyone's a project. The question is, are you worth the effort?" There was no judgment in her tone, just this calm, intuitive presence that cut through me. I wasn't used to that. Everyone else either avoided me or looked at me like a walking scandal. She saw something else. Over the next few months, Sophie kept showing up, sometimes at Frank's place for dinner, sometimes grabbing coffee after one of my shifts. She asked about baseball, about finance, about what I wanted beyond survival. It was jarring. Someone caring about my future when I had stopped imagining I had one. And God, she was perceptive. I tried to deflect, say I was fine, but she'd press just enough. "No, really, Jake. What's going on in that head of yours?" She didn't flinch when I told her about Lily. She didn't try to fix it either. She just listened. That was new. I remember one night sitting on Frank's rickety balcony, city lights flickering like static in the distance. Sophie sat across from me sipping wine and said, "You know, Jake, you don't have to carry their choices forever. You're not who they said you are." It hit me harder than I expected, because that's what had been haunting me. That maybe my parents believed Lily so quickly because deep down, that's who they thought I was. Broken, dangerous, disposable. But Sophie, she saw me differently. She didn't see the accusations, the fall from grace, the homeless screw up. She saw the kid still fighting to stand back up. Somewhere in that mess, love crept in, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. By the time Sophie and I officially became a couple, I had more than just survival. I had something worth protecting again. With her, I felt grounded, safe, like maybe I could build a future that wasn't defined by betrayal. Frank noticed before I even admitted it. "About time," he grunted one morning, seeing Sophie's jacket draped over my chair. "Don't screw it up, kid. Women like her don't come around twice." For the first time since my life had imploded, I let myself believe that maybe he was right. But just as I was learning to breathe again, life decided to remind me, peace never lasts forever. Update. Didn't think so many of you would even read what I wrote, let alone send me DMs. Some of you went full scorched earth. Burn their house down, Jake. Expose Lily online. Sue your parents into oblivion. Tempting, not gonna lie. A few of you even said Lily probably had a crush on me and twisted it into hate. Dark theory, but after everything, I don't dismiss anything anymore. What really got me, though, was the handful of comments that said, "Man, you're still grieving them. That's why this hurts so much." And yeah, you're right. I hate admitting it, but part of me still wanted Mom and Dad to show up, to say they'd made a mistake, to hold me and tell me they were sorry, even after they left me to rot. That's the sick part of family. You keep hoping for love from people who prove they'll never give it. But here's where things shift, because I did get that call. It was 3 years after Sophie and I got married. 3 years of rebuilding. Frank training me into the best shape of my life. Sophie grounding me. Therapy teaching me to carry my scars instead of letting them strangle me. We even started our own security firm. Contracts with high rises, clubs, even some VIPs. I had a house again, a wife, stability, a future. Then my phone rang one night, an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. "Jake?" My mother's voice, fragile like she'd been crying for days. I went cold. First time hearing her voice since the night she told me to pack my things. "Lily confessed," she said. "She admitted she lied. All of it. She's been in treatment and she finally told us. We're so sorry, Jake. Please, please come home. We need you." My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped the phone. Years of silence, years of agony. And now, suddenly an apology because Lily cracked under her own lies. But it wasn't just an apology. It was desperation. Because as Mom kept talking, I pieced it together. Dad had lost his job. The house was in foreclosure. Lily was in some kind of rehab program. Their perfect suburban empire had crumbled. And now they wanted me. The son they discarded. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just said, "You believed her without question. You killed me for a lie. And now you want me to come back?" Mom broke down sobbing. Dad got on the line, his voice shaking, begging me to at least talk to Lily. I told him I'd think about it. Hung up. Sophie was watching me the whole time, her hand gripping mine so tight it hurt. Frank just muttered, "Well, kid, looks like the wolves are at your door again. What are you gonna do about it?" And that's when the idea hit me. They wanted me back? They were about to find out what it felt like to choke on their own betrayal. I agreed to meet them. Not at the house. They had already lost it by then, but at some cheap diner off the highway. The kind of place where the booths are cracked vinyl and the coffee tastes like cardboard. Fitting, I thought. This was where the perfect family came to die. When I walked in, Mom looked 20 years older. Dad was thinner, his suit hanging off him like it belonged to someone else. And Lily. She couldn't even lift her eyes. The moment they saw me, Mom reached across the table, tears streaming. "Jacob, baby, we're so sorry. We should have believed you. Please, we need you. We need our family back." I sat down slowly, Sophie's hand still warm on my shoulder from the car. Frank was parked outside, giving me that silent, steady backup he always did. Dad tried to launch into explanations. How Lily had been troubled, how they'd been under pressure, how they thought they were protecting her. His voice cracked like glass, but all I heard was cowardice. Finally Lily spoke, quiet, shaking. "Jake, I lied because I hated you. You had everything and I felt like nothing. I'm so sorry I ruined your life." I stared at her. The girl I once called sister. The one whose crooked little thank you card I carried like a badge of honor. For years I dreamed of this moment. her finally admitting the truth. But hearing it didn't give me peace. It gave me rage. I leaned forward, my voice low, steady. You didn't ruin my life. You ended the boy I was, but the man I am now, he exists because you burned me down. And I'll never thank you for that. The silence after that was suffocating. Then Mom said the words that made it all clear. Jake, we don't have anyone else. We lost everything. We need you. That was the crack in the facade. The truth wasn't about love. It was about need. They weren't here for me. They were here for rescue. I pulled a photo from my jacket and slid it onto the table. An ultrasound picture. Sophie and I were expecting our first child. This is my family now, I said. The one I chose. The one that chose me back. Mom's face crumpled. Dad muttered something about blood ties. And Lily. Lily just sobbed. I stood up, slid the picture back into my pocket, and dropped a 20 on the table for their coffees. You had your chance to be my family, I told them. You threw it away. You'll have to live with that. I already did. Then I walked out. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't screaming. It was worse. It was final. For the first time in years, I wasn't begging to be seen. I was the one closing the door. And when Sophie and I drove away, Frank following behind us in his beat-up truck, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about making them hurt. It was about showing them I no longer needed them. But the story didn't end there. Because families like mine, they don't go quietly. Update 2. So yeah, I finally faced them. Some of y'all called it. Said they'd come crawling back not out of love, but out of desperation. And holy hell, you nailed it. Reading through the comments, I laughed at how many of you said, Jake, don't give them a dime. Don't even give them air. Don't worry, I didn't. But here's the thing I didn't expect. The aftermath. 2 weeks after that diner meeting, my parents started showing up. First, it was letters slipped under the door of our office. Handwritten pages of guilt trips about blood is thicker than water. Then it turned into calls to Sophie at work. Then, God help me, they even tried showing up at one of our security contracts, begging the receptionist to put them through to me. It didn't stop there. One night, Sophie and I came home to find our mailbox ripped open, mail scattered in the yard. Another time, someone keyed traitor into the side of my truck. I knew it was them, or Lily, because who else would go to those lengths? Frank, being Frank, wanted to handle it Marine style. Couple of cameras, a little trap, problem solved, he said. But Sophie, as usual, saw the bigger picture. Jake, this isn't about scaring them off. This is about protecting us. So I filed a police report. Simple, clean, official. If they wanted to drag me back into their chaos, they'd find the system wasn't on their side anymore. The comments here had me thinking too, especially the ones pointing out that forgiveness doesn't mean reunion. That hit me hard, because part of me still wanted to forgive Lily. And I did, in a way. Not for her sake, but for mine. Carrying that hate was like swallowing glass every day. I couldn't keep bleeding for her lie. But my parents? That wound was different. They hadn't just believed Lily. They'd chosen to. Without hesitation. They killed the boy who trusted them and never once looked back. Forgiving that. Well, I'm not there. Not sure I'll ever be. Sophie and I are focusing on the baby now. Every kick she feels is a reminder of the family we're building. One rooted in honesty. Not appearances, in love, not performance. But I'll be honest, when I think about my parents knocking at our door, or Lily's sobs at that diner table, part of me wonders if I've really closed the book, or if the past has one more ugly chapter left to throw at me. Either way, I'm ready now. Not as the golden boy they destroyed, but as the man who walked through fire and came out carrying his own torch. Time has a way of softening some things, but not all wounds scar over clean. It's been almost 2 years since that diner confrontation. Sophie and I now have a son, Matthew. He's got her eyes, my stubborn jaw, and the loudest cry you've ever heard. The first time I held him, something inside me shifted. All the pain, all the betrayal, it was still there, but it wasn't the center of my life anymore. He was. Frank came to the hospital the day Matthew was born, grumbling about another recruit to toughen up one day, but his eyes gave him away. He was proud. Sophie told me later he stayed outside the delivery room the whole night, just in case. That's Frank, steady, watchful, unshakable, the father figure I never asked for but desperately needed. Lily wrote me once. A real letter, not some half-assed text. She said therapy cracked her open, made her see how envy turned to cruelty, how one lie rotted a family tree. She begged forgiveness. I wrote back one sentence. I forgive you, but you'll never be my sister again. It was the truth. I didn't want her tethered to my life anymore. My parents tried one more stunt. Showed up outside our house holding a box of old photo albums like it was an offering. Sophie was the one who answered the door. She told them, calm but firm, that they were not welcome. They tried to push past her, until Frank walked up the driveway. One look from him, and they backed off. That was the last time I saw them. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever truly forgive them. They weren't tricked. They weren't forced. They chose to believe Lily's lie and discard me. And when I was broken, homeless, suicidal, they never looked back. Parents are supposed to fight for you, even when it's messy. Mine didn't even hesitate to let me drown. That truth doesn't just fade. But here's what I've learned. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up when you're at your lowest. It's the person dragging you out of the river when you're ready to jump. It's the woman who sees your scars and loves you harder, not less. It's the child who will grow up never doubting that his father would burn the world before abandoning him. I don't need their house, their apologies, or their approval. I've built my own, and it's stronger than anything they ever pretended to have. So when people ask me now if I ever miss my old life, the baseball, the finance career, the golden boy image, I just smile, because I don't. That boy is gone. He died on a cold lawn the night his family shut the door on him. The man who stands here now, he built himself from ashes, and he'll never let anyone take that away again. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also watch more shocking stories in the playlist.